Hey, how are you doing? It may sound really strange, but the concept of owning properties is predominant among people in a human society. So it is obvious that you recognize a stuff that you bought as your property. So ownership of properties is the legitimate right, clearly written on the civil law or something in every country. But it is not really strange that you can claim the ownership of properties you obtained with money or legitimate means. But sometimes I think the concept of owning properties that makes people claim ownership is the trigger for a widening rich and poor gap in the world. So the range that people can claim ownership of properties should be limited to only the things that they need for the minimum standard of living. So in terms of other properties that are not directly necessary for the minimum standard of living, I think we should regard these stuff as God's properties that God entrusts to us for distributing to people who are even in trouble with the minimum standard of living in the world. So considering coexistence of haves and not haves on this planet, I believe this way of thinking is very, very important in the sense that people's living level in every country needs to be standardized and rich and poor gap should be shrinked as much as possible in the world. So seeing the circumstance between the top of pyramids and the bottom of the pyramids, there's extreme distance between the rich country and the poor country with realistically no way to get close to each other with the physical measure. So because individual people's circumstance has crucial difference between haves and not haves at birth. So unless people in the world have the basic of education in the first place, even if they make effort in the same level, it's almost impossible for them to earn money in the same level with the people with good education. In the environment where people were born will give a great influence on choices of work they can get. So there are some Japanese people who believe that Japan is one of the advanced countries that climbed up from the ground up after World War II. So it's like we got the current economic power position with our huge efforts. So poor countries that became placent were not able to develop their economy because of laziness. So that is the height of hubris, I think. That is arrogance. That is arrogance. Japan already had a potential of reconstruction after World War II because nation's education level was not bad then, and Japan was already advanced countries counted as a great power during World War II. So they neglect the fact that the necessary factors to reconstruct Japan and climb up to the major economic power in the world were already prepared in Japan after World War II. So the behavior that you one up someone from your current high position with the feeling of disrespect have no advantages for poor countries and poor people. In addition, political ideology that we have these days, that is the foundation of politics in the modern days, just focuses on protection of individual rights and ownership. But it can't force people to distribute their properties to someone. So far, I think the measure to solve the problem of poverty in the world is that haves reach out to have-nots in the form that they distribute something to people who suffer from serious poverty. So we should think this way, like a person with an ability to make a lot of money is given mission by God to distribute properties more than necessary to people who are in really trouble with their living. So there is no productive. I think there's no productivity in a solution of poverty in the world in terms of using money for luxury things and entertainment more than necessary, and saving uh, wealth more than necessary in your own territory.